Charles Williams was born in 1886, the son of Walter Stansby Williams, journalist and foreign business correspondent. Due to his father's increasing blindness and the decline of the family firm, the family lived in, quote, shabby genteel circumstances. Williams gained a scholarship to study at the University College London, but had to leave for obtaining a degree due to his being unable to pay his tuition fees. Consequently, he lectured at Oxford, though he held no formal degrees. For a time he was a member of the Salvator Mundi Temple of the Fellowship of the Rosy Cross, while also being a devoted member of the Church of England. He wrote plays for which he expected little to no pay, among them A Myth of Francis Bacon and House of the Octopus, the latter being apparently a spiritual drama set on an island in the Pacific during an invasion by, quote, the Satanic Empire of Paul-Lu, which Williams expressly stated was not meant to directly be identified with Japan or any other earthly state. He wrote many novels beloved by C.S. Lewis, who, on Williams's sudden death in 1945, aged 58, dedicated a poem to his friend, beginning with the line, "Your death blows a strange bugle call, friend, and all is hard." The Place of the Lion is perhaps his most well-known and most widely read novel. It begins with a pair who go walking down the road and are warned of an escaped lioness. This lioness suddenly turns into a lion. Around this time, the leader of a local group of mystics falls into a coma after having come in mental contact with something. This something turns out to be the lion, in a sense, the lion that soon becomes manifest in flesh. Soon it is apparent that the lion is a manifestation of otherworldly forces which begin to take shape all about the small town in various, even sometimes seemingly innocuous forms, such as the fatal butterflies that manifest for Damaris Taig's father. Damaris Taig, obsessed with the works of a medieval scholar, herself becomes near overcome in a horrid nightmare manifestation of this same scholar during these manifestations. In the end, it turns out that these beings were described as uncontrolled emanations in the work of Marcellus Victorius of Bologna, dedicated to Pope Leo X in 1514. Then, the entire town becomes isolated from the surrounding countryside as train tracks explode and the majestic shape of the lion looms over the surrounding fields and countryside. The novel deals specifically with Platonic archetypes, to quote, pure forms which embody the fundamental characteristics of a thing in Platonism. The events described really unfolded in my head while reading like a movie, a thing I had only experienced a few times before, and quite unexpected in this particular case, given the sheer esoteric nature of the writing. C.S. Lewis was a great admirer of the book, saying, "It is not only a most exciting fantasy, but a deeply religious and unobtrusively a profoundly learned book." All Hallows Eve was published 13 years later, in 1945, the year of Williams's death. Unlike the Lion, this work is based around spirituality through a sort of Christian lens, but not a preachy Christianity, instead being mostly vague in its approach and description. It concerns itself with a man trying to wed Betty, a woman who gets abused and forced into the role of a servant by her mother whenever they leave the city, and who is permitted to be used by famed preacher Father Simon, who likes to abuse her medium qualities to gain access to the spiritual realm and obtain knowledge of the future. Simon, spiritual faith healer and cult leader, is the result of a long cultivation according to ancient magical and Kabbalistic rites, and he has the ambition to use his powers to obtain maximum worldly influence, so much so he has mystically split himself into 3 people, his 2 shadow images taking on different identities to similarly seek power and influence through religious manipulation abroad. And all the while we see the wanderings through the spiritual city of London of a woman who died in a tragic accident and her attempt to come into contact with those who enter the spiritual city, be it temporarily such as Betty or Simon, or permanently like the bitter destructive Evelyn, who died in a car accident as well, and who works to undermine her, even at the crucial moment when Simon is confronted at the end. As said, it is a little less unusual in its approach than The Lion, due to the fact that the lens for the spiritual here is a little more typical, due to its Christian-ish nature, though this is referenced maybe 2 times in the entire novel, and it is neither preachy nor dogmatic and leaves a lot to the imagination. Williams wrote many other novels, such as War in Heaven and Descent into Hell, for which I have high hopes and I wish to cover in the future.